the victim's account is very detailed and comes across as entirely credible. And as my colleague pointed out, substantiated by other people who were outcry witnesses and participated in the perpetration of the victimization of your own daughter. And it would seem to me that you would have some capability as a mother of apologizing for failing to protect your own child.
And we are about to watch the parole hearing of this sorry excuse of a mother, and it is only going to shake you to your core. At least it did that for me. You know, we see evil. We see all levels of evil, but there is something that I think that we hold sacred in society. It might be the most fundamental thing between a mother and her child. It's a relationship built on instinct to drive, to protect, to nurture, to shelter from harm. And when you find out that this mother does the exact opposite, and then nearly 10 years into her 10-year sentence shows up and says, no, I'm the victim. My daughter is lying. I shouldn't be here. We are going to watch something that will just enrage. But what is more enraging? Some mothers are evil. Some mothers should never have the ability to, or at least the right to claim to be one, right? But where is the justice? We know that evil exists. So how come there's a 10-year sentence and that is it? Where is the ADA for a case like this? We will see the survivor stand up and lay down the facts. And I'll unpack it with the details, the horrific details. You know, she was just 8 years old when it started. It went on for 4 years. It took years to bring this roach to justice. And now here she is, the audacity to call her daughter a liar. The audacity to say that she is innocent. And to think that regardless, she will be walking the streets. And you call this justice? Now, this is something that a lot of society likes to put their head in the sand and pretend and to think that it doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. So is it a mother betraying society's most basic trust? Or perhaps it's our justice system that is trying to betray all of us?
Elisa Ortega, 402-931.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Elisa Ortega, inmate number 402-931. She is serving a sentence of 10 years with 10-year special parole for sexual assault first and illegal sexual contact. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of December 9th, 2024. There is no victim input. I apologize. There is victim input in this case. There is a offender accountability plan for the offender. It's been reviewed and shows she's completed the VOICES program and the short-term sex offender program. Utilizing the Women's Risk Needs Assessment form, the offender's overall score for recidivating falls within the low range. Ms. Ortega, this is your opportunity to make an opening statement to the board explaining why you believe you should be granted parole.
Well, first, I would like to thank my family and friends who have supported me over the years, and I have taken the time to also stand by me throughout these proceedings. There's nothing more that I would like than to be set free and put this past nightmare behind me, and to start my life, living my life over. At this time, I'm sure you would like to hear how remorseful I am for the crime I've been convicted of. I'm unable to do that because I did not commit the crime that I'm convicted of. I remember the day that I was brought to York.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there, Ms. Ortega.
Okay.
The question that was posed to you is, why do you believe you deserve parole? We've read all
Okay.
the documents about your case. If you could focus on why you deserve it, not why you want it.
Okay, then I'm gonna stop right here and I'm just gonna go right to your questions
Okay.
because, I would rather do that.
And that would be fine. And hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about what you've done to prepare yourself to be successful when you're back out in the community. We'll begin
Okay.
this morning with my colleague, Mr. Sisowskis.
Good
Okay.
morning, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
So I read through all of the documents provided to us for this case, and I understand that although you pled guilty and completed the sex offender treatment while you've been incarcerated, that you continue to maintain that you didn't commit these crimes. And I heard you repeat that again in your opening statement. Is that still the case? Is that still your stance on this, that you did not commit these crimes?
Yes,
Okay. And then in some of the documents and paperwork I read, you seem to blame the victim, and go on to say that they've done all these other things to you since you've been incarcerated and all of that. And you still feel that way?
I don't blame the victim at all. I don't blame her. I blame myself for bringing somebody into my home that I shouldn't have. I blame myself for allowing myself to not conduct a background of, looking into, what type of person that he was, and allowing myself to not know what kind of person he was, and allowing him to hurt my child. I don't allow him, I don't allow, just anyone to around my child, and I did in this circumstance.
Okay. So, I mean, in your opening statement, you said that you couldn't offer an apology or take responsibility, but I mean, I'm hearing some of that now. So, I mean, you're recognizing a little bit of what your role could have been in this, to, in your mind. You know what I mean? People, you want to take a minute? Are you okay?
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. You don't need to
It's
apologize
just,
to me.
this is my child.
Yeah. You could, there's other people you can apologize to. You don't need to apologize to me. I mean, that's what I would like to hear is, some sense of compassion, empathy, understanding about what you believe your role was in this. These are a terrible set of facts and circumstances that I had to read through. And, you're saying that you can't make an apology, and it's difficult for me to listen to you say that, and you have no feeling of remorse or any of that with this. I mean, is there anything else you want to say in regards to, your remorse or an apology, anything at all to that effect that you would like to say?
Like I said, I shouldn't have brought someone into my home that would hurt my child. And that's where I show my remorse. I should have known better.
You understand, you've read the facts of this case. Have you seen the police reports? I know it's
Yes,
been a long time. Okay. So
yes,
the allegations are much more than that. You know that, right? You
Yes.
understand that? Okay. I just want to make sure you know what, I understand you're acknowledging this section of that, but there are a lot more allegations that don't involve that person, that involve other people, that involve you.
I know, and I also know my daughter recanted her story four times.
Yeah. I see you completed the Voices program, and it looks like you may have taken that in cell. Was that during COVID, or what was going on when you
During
took the voice?
COVID. I didn't take voices. I don't believe I took voice. I don't know. I took a whole bunch of different programs and I don't know which ones I took.
So I was going to ask you some questions about that because Voices has to do with victims and, you know, the impact that you have on victims and how giving you better insight onto how a victim may perceive what happened differently than from you because they're on the receiving end of this and how it affects their life, people around them, other people in the community, neighbors, you know, when things happen, it's like a ripple effect, you know, but you don't recall this.
No, I don't. It's been so long. I've been here a long time.
It was a long time ago. I did see you take that. So something else that I, you know, read throughout these documents is that during the interview with the parole officer, you denied ever using illegal drugs. You said that I've never used illegal drugs. However, in all of these reports, there's like mentions of it all over the place about your illegal drug use during the time that this offense occurred. Do you recall ever using illegal drugs? Did you have a drug problem when you were younger?
No, I've never had a drug problem.
Okay, that's so. I want to just be clear. So did you use illegal drugs occasionally?
No.
Never used illegal drugs.
The only drugs I've ever used are prescription drugs.
So you've never used marijuana. You've never used cocaine.
No, the only time I've ever used marijuana was when I broke my leg.
Okay, so that would have been long after these that was long after these crimes took place, right?
Yeah.
That your accident was later.
During my proceedings that were
Exactly,
done.
that's what it sounded like because it was talk of that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't know why people would say that you were using marijuana and cocaine.
Because I was hanging around with people that were doing it.
But you weren't using it, and they were telling the police and other people that you were using it. Why would people say that, regardless of these other allegations that you deny? Why would people say that you were using drugs when you weren't?
I have no idea, but I was not using. I've taken drug tests over the years, and nothing's ever popped up.
Yeah, so we're talking about these crimes were reported much later, right? A long time after they had occurred, and so they're talking about at the time that these crimes were being committed, that there was drug use involved. But you're denying that you ever used drugs.
Yeah, no, I've never.
There's just so many things that are different than from what you're saying, and you're besides you're taking some accountability for letting a person that was a danger to the victim into your home. All these other things you don't take responsibility for. All right, let me see what else I have here. So I wanted to talk about your current husband. Do you talk to him on the phone?
Every day.
You do? Okay. So I read your release plan is to live with your husband. Is that still the plan? Because then there was some talk about a halfway house. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, I want to go home.
Did the parole ops team, did they talk to your husband? Have they cleared the way for you to go there?
I gave him the phone number for my husband, but I haven't heard anything about it.
I looked in that, it appears that he has a criminal history, right? That's
that was back from 2009.
substantial, though. I mean, there's some from what I saw, it looks like very serious, very, very serious crimes. So if you can't go there, where is it you're going to go?
I have no place to go.
So you'll have to go to a halfway house. What's your mobility situation now? How well are you getting around?
I use a walker.
Okay. I saw some mention of a wheelchair. That's no more?
No, I just use a walker.
Okay. What else is in your plan for release? What is it? What's your plan for the rest of your life when you get out?
What do you mean? What I plan on doing?
Yeah, are you gonna work? I saw something about applying for Social Security.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to apply for disability. I got hurt when I was in here several times.
I did see some training documents that you learned some skills that maybe could you work from home, do you think?
I don't think I'm gonna end up working from home because I hurt my back while I was here.
Uh-huh.
I also broke my ankle completely, which isn't healed. So I have to have that looked at. So once those are taken care of and if I'm able to work, then I'll be working from home.
What kind of work do you think you could do? I read you there was some mention there about Braille, is that right?
Yeah, no, I won't be doing Braille. I'll be doing medical coding.
Did you learn that while you're incarcerated?
No, I was doing it before I was incarcerated.
Okay.
I learned Braille while I was incarcerated.
I saw that there were several documents in there, and that seems like it would be a difficult thing to learn for me anyway, you know? Can you talk about how you think you've changed since you've been incarcerated? Is anything, do you see any self-improvement since you've been in there through the programs?
More humble than I was before I came in. Things are a lot different. I miss my family. I miss my daughter immensely. But I can't see her anymore.
So you understand that you have a protective order and all of that, right?
Yes.
And so you're not going to be able to reach out to any of them unless you got that straightened out through the court, or whatever. And
No,
go ahead.
my granddaughter went to court and released the protective order, and I've been talking and visiting with her.
So that was one portion of the order, right? So there were
Yeah.
multiple people in it. Okay. So that's what has to be done if you want to. So have you been sending messages to the victim through her or no?
No, not at all.
So you haven't had any contact with the victim this entire time you've been incarcerated?
No,
Even through
not at
other
all.
people?
No,
Okay.
no, and I won't. I won't do it.
Okay. You completed.
That kind of got me a little scared too, because there's documents that she's stolen my identity before.
I read your claims about that in paperwork, and there are avenues that you can pursue, separate from all this, to address those things if you like. But that's not anything that is anything that we would be involved with or address or it's we're here to decide your suitability for release into the community. You're eligible, and so we have to look at all the facts and then make a decision on your suitability. And what other people are doing is just not part of that decision making process. But you took the 12-week sex offender treatment program, right? You did complete it.
Yes.
And it sounded like it was difficult for you from what I read in the documents.
Yeah.
Is there anything that go ahead, you want to say? I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead. Do you have something
It
to
was
say?
just very difficult.
Okay. Is there anything at all that you can say that you took away from that you think could help you, just living as a positive person in the future?
It was just a very difficult course because I'm a victim myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those addressing these things and being honest and forthright, in my experience with dealing with other offenders, is very difficult. And also with victims, right? So these are sensitive nature situations that are difficult to address and talk about openly, but that's where we're at, you know. So you have some special parole to follow, you know, and so you're gonna have to take the long-term sex offender treatment program at some point out in the community. Have you thought about that?
No, I didn't know I had to take it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, that's normally what happens. Okay. And it's likely that you'll have to do that based on all the documents that I read and then my experience with past cases like this. So it's going to be even more of what you experienced in incarcerated. You know what I mean? And then you'll be required to complete it.
Okay.
You'll be able to do that, you think?
I don't know, but I'm not, I don't think I'm gonna be given a choice.
So yeah, you know, I went through most of the things. My colleagues are going to have some questions for you. So let me ask you this, going back to the original crime. You know that they spoke to the co-defendant in this case, this person that you said you wish you had not brought into the house. And, you know, between the time that all this happened and the time that they interviewed him or that person, did you talk to that person? Did anyone talk to that person? You had no contact with that person in years?
No, not at all.
Yet their story was very similar to what the complaint was. Do you know that? Did you read through that?
No, I didn't read through that. I didn't read through the whole thing.
Yeah, their version of events is very close to what the victim stated. In addition, the victim had provided some information about a person that she told this story to when they were a child, and they contacted that person who had also not spoken to any, you know, and they also said, yeah, I remember them saying this, you know. So there's some people that are corroborating some of the facts, the majority of the facts of this case that no one appears to have had contact with in between the time the crimes were committed until the report was made. So it's hard for us hard for me after reading all that and then hearing you say that none of this is true and that your only part in this was not doing a better job, you know, investigating or knowing the person that you brought into the house. You know, there's a lot more that appears to be involved after reading all these documents. It leads me to that conclusion. I can't seem to go anywhere else with it. Have you spoken to the co-defendant, the other person that was arrested for these crimes?
No,
Well, during the legal trial, any of that stuff, you have never spoken to that person again since they moved out of your house long ago.
no, not at all.
Okay, I appreciate you answering my questions. And I wish you good luck. I'm gonna turn this over to my colleagues, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Chance, any questions?
Yeah. You. So, Ms. Ortega, normally when someone comes before us asking for parole, it's because they're expressing some form of remorse, saying that they have taken programs to address the issue that has to do with their crimes. And then, you know, you say what you've learned, how it has helped you. So two things. You said you never used illegal drugs because I read that you didn't like the taste of alcohol and they found out you were allergic to marijuana. So that's what I read. But at the time of the court proceedings, you took a plea deal because you said you were scared and you had a bad lawyer. But
So,
you had a bad lawyer,
mhm.
and you alluded to it again when my colleague asked you questions. So the judge in the case went over the facts of the lawyer with you, and you took back some of the original statements about your lawyer being bad, meaning he wasn't a good lawyer. You took all of that back. But I want to bring to your attention that you're here denying the offense, but in reading the documents that we have, it said this behavior took place over a 2-year period. Okay? And the co-defendant, as my colleague said to you, his information was similar to the events that was reported by the victim. So it's concerning to me that you're sitting there, you don't remember some of the programs that you took, you said, and the short-term sex offender program that you participated in. You said that you don't remember much because it opened up old wounds for you. So I really don't know what voices or the short-term sex offender program did for you today. So I would have difficulty, supporting you going out in the community because I haven't heard any changes from you. I haven't heard you express any remorse for the victim. And you just keep going back to talking about that you didn't do it. And your problem is that you brought someone in the house that you didn't do checking on. Do you understand what I'm saying, Ms. Ortega?
I understand.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. I just want to point out that your eligibility date next month and your end of sentence date, we're talking about a 5 month, a little less than 5 months difference. And you do have 10 years of special parole to follow. Though you seem to think you don't have any responsibility in this case, the victim's account is very detailed and comes across as entirely credible. And as my colleague pointed out, substantiated by other people who were outcry witnesses and participated in the perpetration of the victimization of your own daughter. And it would seem to me that you would have some capability as a mother of apologizing for failing to protect your own child. But at this point, we're going to move into the OVS, Office of Victim Services, part of the hearing. And I'm going to caution you, Ms. Ortega, you are not to speak. So Ms. Vasquez?
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. We do have a victim who's logged on to Teams and wishes to address the board. This is your opportunity to express to the board your wishes and concerns. Please unmute your microphone, and if you wish to have your camera on, you could also enable that, and you may begin.
Thank you. You guys pretty much said kind of like the things. I was more looking to see, I guess, if she would take accountability. And clearly she still doesn't take accountability because before the other person was involved, it started with just my mom. This is something that affects me the rest of my life. I have a disconnect from my emotions because of it. And the least that you could do is take accountability and serve the rest of your time. You know what you did. Regardless, you kind of try to put it on other people. You know what you did, and you need to take accountability, and you need to do some internal healing. I don't really have much to say because I'm pretty confident in the system that they're going to see that you're not fit to come back to this community. That's all I have to say.
I just want to indicate that right now her end of sentence is May 1st, and she does have 10 years of supervision. And based on the records that were available to us, it looks like these crimes were perpetrated over a 4-year period of time. So thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is all that I have for this case.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Ms. Ortega, give us a few minutes. We're going to discuss your case. Mr. Sazowski?
Yeah, so Ms. Ortega continues to deny the offenses. And when asked about what she learned from the programs and how she's changed, she wasn't really able to provide anything to me that would make me feel that she's made any change. And the nature and circumstances of this are very concerning to all of us as we read through these documents. And as we heard from the victim, the injury and the impact is going to be lifelong. So for those reasons, I cannot support parole today.
And, you know, for me, we're looking at good behavior. We're looking at programs completed. She's not able to articulate what she got out of the programs. And there's just a persistence on her part of denying the crime for which she was convicted. So
I added inadequate. So
okay, yeah, and I would say inadequate release plan. And just to note, for Ms. Ortega's purposes, the parole officer has reached out 4 times to your proposed sponsor who has failed to reply. So if this is somebody you actually talk to every day, you should ask about that. So as far as conditions for her parole supervision, I have no alcohol, and that's per the judge. Problem sexual behavior treatment in the community, no contact with minors, no contact with victim JD, halfway house placement, mental health evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary, and no contact with co-defendants Stephen D. Morrow or Stephanie DeMorrow. The person goes by both names.
I think I see another first name on here of Tiffany.
Yeah, that's what I said. Stephen or Tiffany.
Okay. And then can we just go over the conditions, the reasons for denial again, so I have them correct?
Okay, I'll do that when I make the motion. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so in the matter of Elisa Ortega, inmate number 402931, there's a motion to deny parole for the following reasons: the nature and circumstances of your crimes, the injury and impact caused to the victim, inadequate evidence of offender change, and an inadequate release plan. I further move to set the following conditions for your 10 years of special parole supervision. You are not to consume any alcohol. You're to engage in problem sexual behavior treatment in the community. You are to have no contact with minors, halfway house placement if needed, mental health evaluation and treatment is deemed necessary, no contact with the victim, initials JB, and no contact with your co-defendant, Stephen or Tiffany D. Morrow. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
This concludes the hearing for Elisa Ortega in the 402. Ms. Ortega, you're all set. You'll get this in writing in the next couple of days, probably sometime by the end of next week.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do I have to go in a halfway house at the end of my sentence?
If you don't have a sponsor at that time, parole will place you in a halfway house pending you providing a sponsor. So if they're able to get in contact with your husband, that residence, you'll be able to go there. If not, You have to provide an alternative, or you would be placed in a halfway house, yes.
All right, so you just have to get a hold of my husband?
He
Yeah.
needs to reply to the parole officer who's already been doing outreach.
Okay, all right, no problem. Thank you.
And I'll tell you, she jumped out of that chair real quick for a 55-year-old supposedly suffering all those physical ailments. Hopped right out of it. Hey, I'd be happy if I could hop out of my chair like that on any given day. You know, her daughter comes in and really just leaves a very succinct mic drop, something very powerful. She just wants to see if her mother would take accountability. And as you saw, looking at this roach, there is no soul, there is no conscience, there is nothing. You know what you did. And we find out that she was doing it to her daughter before this other man even came into the picture. Now, it's not clear exactly. I'll read to you the article written in 2014. And let's keep in mind, so the dates that this was occurring are from 1998 and 2001. And her daughter bravely came up, and told the police. And it wasn't until all those years later that she was finally arrested. And it took many years, by the way, for them to do that. So let me read to you an article Sir Richard found. A New Britain couple is accused of sexually abusing a young girl more than 200 times and forcing her to watch them do it, watch them have sex. The New Britain Herald reports the allegations are detailed in recently released warrant charging Elisa with first-degree sexual assault, employing a minor in obscene performance. Ortega's former boyfriend is facing similar charges. The victim, now who was 23 at the time, says the abuse occurred between 1998 and 2001, when she was between 8 and 10. She came to the police 4 years before this, right, in 2010, prompting an investigation that led to the arrest last month. So it took them 4 years to finally make the arrest happen. Now, I'll share a few things with you which are disturbing. Sir Richard, brought me with her co-defendant. Her co-defendant, it says here, was sentenced in 2017 to 8 years. But it says execution suspended and probation after 3. And I'm not sure if that means he got no prison time. But what I do know is that the most prison time he could have possibly gotten was a little less than 3 years, because he was arrested on the street 9/11/2020 for disorderly conduct. And he got 90 days jail, execution suspended. So it seems he completely got away with it. And this evil, disgusting mother, she's blaming her daughter, calling, oh, stole my identity. Oh, she recanted her story 4 times. Oh, just shut up. And then we also find out that she's somehow found a way to have a relationship with the grandchild. We don't know if it's the same, but how is that not terrifying? And you know what else is interesting about this case that is just not clear? You may have been looking for it, is they never mentioned her risk assessment as a sex offender. And nor do we have any mention, and I asked Sir Richard to find it, but it's not here, if she has to register as an offender. So how scary is that? It's possible that she has 10 years of special parole. It's like, I guess if there's one factor that's helpful, it's when they say that her husband, can you imagine, she's married, hasn't returned her phone calls, 4 phone calls. So, she's a pathological liar. She says, at this time, I'm sure you would like to hear how remorseful I am for the crime I'm convicted of, which, by the way, she was not convicted of. She pled guilty to. Okay. I can't, because I'm not guilty of the crime I'm convicted of. Why would a DA even just say, yeah, you know what, let's just give you this little slap on the wrist sentence. What's the big deal? And then they don't show up. And it just pisses me off. They need to show up to these kinds of cases. You need to give support. You need to just be able to. I didn't like the way the board handled this case. I wish the board would have, sometimes they really get in there and they really get can put pressure, and they will yell at the how dare, they'll say things. They do that if you see enough of these hearings. They didn't do that here. I didn't see they did that here. I felt like the survivor was alone, but she's not alone. We were able to see it. We see what's going on here. It is clear. You have this cockroach of a mother scurrying around the place, evil. When everybody knows, when, I don't know. I have nothing else to say. Here you have it. We're able to see it with our own eyes. And she will be walking the streets soon. She will be out. April 3rd, 2025. That is just around the corner. Think about that. And with that, I'll let you go.
I mean, you guys pretty much said kind of like the things. I was more looking to see, I guess, if she would take accountability. And clearly she still doesn't take accountability, because before the other person was involved, it started with just my mom. This is something that affects me the rest of my life. I have a disconnect from my emotions because of it. And the least that you could do is take accountability and serve the rest of your time. You know what you did. Regardless, you kind of try to put it on other people. You know what you did, and you need to take accountability, and you need to do some internal healing. I don't really have much to say because I'm pretty confident in the system that they're going to see that you're not fit to come back to this community.